Good morning, Skallywags, and welcome to another exciting episode in a series of enigmatic events. I'm Shpoo.
I'm AJ. Today we're going to discuss the mystery that surrounds the death of a woman discovered in England over 75 years ago. The theory circling this case of why she was murdered and who she was wraps this story in a bunch of series of mysteries and riddles that to this day have no real answers to any of them.
So strap in, kids, as we dive into the pretty bizarre tale known as Bella of the Wych Elm. This particular case starts in pretty unusual and dramatic fashion.
Oh yeah.
At around dusk on April 18th, 1943, 4 teenage boys were trespassing in a stretch of woods called Hagley Woods. The property is situated near Hagley Hall Estate, which is a property that's owned by a Lord Cobham.
The 4 boys, Bob Hart, Tom Willett, Fred Payne, and Bob Farmer, were snooping around the woods trying not to get caught by, a groundskeeper. The boys were out in the woods looking for maybe a rabbit to poach or something like that. They were trying to supply their family with a little bit more meat because of the meat rations at the time were a little low.
In case the date and the meat rations doesn't quite make things clear enough, it's important to note that this is in England in the midst of World War II. So, of course, every family and the entire nation, for that matter, the entire world, for that matter, was just completely stressed out, locked in fear. That being said, the boys were also looking for a little excitement.
Right.
Something to take the edge off.
Yeah.
Take their minds off of the, nightly bombing raids that are happening in the area. Because in Birmingham, where this takes place, that was a constant thing that they had to worry about.
Yeah. So after walking a while in the woods, they spot a wych elm. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's a tree that has all these tangled branches and stuff like that. And that's how it got its name. Bob Farmer, one of the boys, he decides that he's going to climb up on that tree in search of a nest, looking for some eggs. Maybe he could take them back to his family. So he climbs up the tree and he glimpses something white in the hollow of the tree trunk. And he thinks, yeah, I found some eggs, or at the very least, I found something that's really cool, a treasure or something. And yeah, he reaches in.
Like she said, he reaches in and pulls out something white.
Not a treasure.
Not so much, but I'm sure you can see where it's going. Instead, he and his friends are now sitting face to face with a human skull. Not what you want to pull out of a tree. There were even still a few clumps of what appeared to be hair stuck to the outside of the scalp. And we'll just go with crooked teeth protruding from the mouth.
Very buck tooth. I know it sounds bad, but yeah. Obviously shocked.
Oh yeah.
Bob Farmer drops the skull back into the hollow of the tree. The boys kind of get out of there pretty quickly. They run outside of the woods a little bit, and they promise each other never to tell. Don't tell anyone, because they were afraid they were going to get in trouble for trespassing on this land. So despite making this promise, Tom Willett, the youngest of the boys, he couldn't get the image of the skull out of his head.
Right.
Yeah, that's something that sticks with you when you're 14.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So when he got home that night, he immediately told his mom and dad.
Yeah.
He told them about trespassing on the property. He told them about the skull. And his parents immediately called the police. So once the police arrived, the entire area was cordoned off. Inside the tree, the police found the skull that the boys had told them about, along with the rest of a woman's skeleton. Well, most of a woman's skeleton.
Disturbing, the woman's right hand was actually not attached to the rest of her skeletons, and there were some bones that weren't attached either that were scattered around the tree. Also around the tree, police found a ring, imitation gold. They presumed it was a wedding ring of some kind, and a size 5.5 shoe, just one. Hanging off the skeleton was fabric, scraps of fabric, really low quality, and inside the mouth was a piece of taffeta. This indicated to police that it was possible that whoever this was had been suffocated with this piece of taffeta.
So upon further investigation, the right hand was finally located. It was about 100 yards away from the tree, just kind of hidden in some brush, and they also found the other shoe right there with the other hand.
Yeah.
So the medical examiner at the time, it was a Professor James Webster, concluded that the woman was around 35 years old, had irregular teeth in her upper jaw, light brown hair, and was around 5 foot tall. So pretty short.
Yeah, even shorter than me.
Right, and that's short. He also concluded, in his opinion, that the woman had been murdered. He said, "I cannot imagine a woman accidentally slipping in there. Neither do I think it reasonable for a woman to crawl into such a place to commit suicide." He also determined that at some point in time during her life, the woman had given birth to at least one child. And finally, that she had been dead for about 18 months.
In his investigation, he determined that she had been placed in the tree before rigor mortis had been set in. With that in mind, he suggested that she'd been murdered really close by and within minutes had been placed into this tree. Following the discovery of the lady in the Wych Elm, the police actually sent out things to local dentists trying to figure out if any of them recognized her. I mean, she had very distinctive teeth.
Yeah.
They also, of course, looked at all the missing persons cases in the area and throughout England, but none of these turned up any leads.
So the investigation then kind of turns towards her personal effects that were found at the scene. The woman's crepe-soled shoes were traced back to a place called the Waterfoot Company in Lancashire, England. And out of all of that brand and that style of shoe that had been sold, investigators were able to track down all except for 6 owners of those type of shoes that had been sold from one specific market in Dudley, which was a town that was pretty close by, about 11 miles away.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the fact that she was found, during wartime kind of made matters a lot worse. Basically, everyone was stretched so thin that, this little tree murder mystery thing just wasn't very high on people's priority list.
I mean, they're having air raids every night.
They got bigger and badder fish to fry.
Yeah.
So Bella was pretty much just forgotten about, and the case went cold and everything went quiet. That is until about 6 months later, when the graffiti started to appear. Dun, dun, dun! The plot thickens.
So around Christmas time, 1943, the first message appeared, like you said, the graffiti. It was written in chalk on a house, Old Hill, and it actually said...
It's like right here.
There
As a
you
matter of
go.
fact, it's part of our set. Hey!
It is! Who put La Bella in the Wych Elm?
Sounds like a song. Who put the Bella in the Wych Elm?
He's going to make that a song now.
It's going to be stuck in my head.
Well, this is actually the first time that a name had been given to this lady who had been found. This is the first time that anybody called her Bella.
And that bothers me, though, because Bella, is just a standard term for girl.
Yeah.
So, or beauty, technically, I guess. But I don't know. That never comes up. And it bothers
why
me.
Bella?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that they actually don't know who wrote it.
Right.
And over the next few months, there's a couple messages that pop up, but this time instead of Lou Bella, it's just who put Bella in the Wych Elm. And this goes on for a while, but police never figure out who wrote it, why they call her Bella. Was that her name? Do they know something?
See, I just never took it as that. I took it as it being just a general term. But yeah, it does seem that this particular story...
But that's a term of France.
Yes.
That's a French term, and they're in England.
But England and France, they go pretty much hand in hand.
Not during the war. Well, you couldn't get...
Fair, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, but still. Anyway, so like she said, this goes on for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, just basically, as quickly as it started, it just stopped.
Yeah.
And it stayed gone for like 5 or 6 years until the late 1940s. And once again, just like last time, the exact same messages start popping up all over again. Who put Bella in the Wych Elm?
You still have that song stuck in your head.
I do. Was it a clue? Was it a taunt? Was it just did someone else make up a song and it was stuck in their head, so they used that? Was it done by some, Banksy of the time that just wanted to kind of remind people of a weird case?
Yeah.
That's entirely possible.
Maybe it was the kids who found her.
Also possible. But unfortunately, just like the first round of the graffiti, the artist or artists were never figured out. They never found them.
And to this day, once in a while, those graffiti messages will pop up in that town, but we still don't know who Bella was.
Right.
We don't know why she was killed, how she was killed, who killed her, why was she in the woods. Oh, there's so many questions with this case. So many questions.
This is a frustrating one, for sure.
It really is. But there are theories. Now, with a bunch of questions, you get a bunch of theories. And we love our theories. So let's just toss some of the theories out at you guys and see which ones you like.
So one of the bigger theories that kind of circulated around, and perhaps one of the more unconventional ones as well,
it's my favorite,
was that Bella was a victim of black magic. Some anthropologists have suggested that Bella's hand being severed could mean that she was part of a ritual that severs an arm and scatters the bones around, just like what happened to her. And it's a ritual called the Hand of Glory.
Yeah.
Now, the research that I did on this, it suggests that the Hand of Glory, I never saw anything as far as attached to like an occult type of thing. It was mainly used for like a punishment sort of thing. Now, I did mention that in covens, they would use this as a punishment as well. But basically, they would sever the hand. They would then turn that hand into a candle. And whoever then holds that candle, they would be granted certain powers. There was the ability to open any locked door. There was only the holder can see certain things that are lit by the candle. So yeah, there was the possibility that was what happened, and that's why the hand was so far away. And
usually in these rituals, the person whose hand was cut off was considered a criminal, or someone who had gone against the coven or against whatever group was doing it. Right. So, that's a theory.
Yeah.
What actually furthers this theory is where Bella was found.
Because it was a Wych Elm.
No. Oh, I apologize to all my witch friends. Actually, it's because in the woods where she was found, there is known to have belladonna, witch hazel, growing around as well. And those woods have some ties, some like mystery, lure around the area that talks about magic and occults and stuff like that. It could just be that they're a creepy old forest, but
it seems like if you've got a creepy area or an old area,
right,
there's going to be stories of, well, there were Satanists there back in the day, whatever. That type of thing, it seems to kind of go, especially when you get over into Europe, because everything is so old over there.
But speaking of being in Europe, here's the fun part about this. Most people, they wanted the bodies to be discovered. A lot of murderers around then didn't hide the bodies because they were a Christian area. You had Catholics, you had the Church of England, and so it was considered terrible to not have somebody be able to be buried. It was considered a ritual to have somebody hidden or not buried in hallowed ground. So that also gives a little bit of credence to the whole theory of witchcraft in a coven, although I don't know any covens who would do that.
And I'm going to give a weird teaser here. But speaking of being buried,
oh yeah,
2 weeks from today.
That story.
That's all I'm saying.
It's a story. You guys
it is
watch
messed up. 2 weeks from today. The next theory was that Bella was actually executed again. This one kind of goes back to the coven theory, that she was executed for a crime against a coven. That one actually kind of quickly started gathering steam, and in fact is still one of the more popular theories today. Also kind of tying back to what the theory that she just gave, another portion of it as to why it attaches itself to the whole witchcraft thing, and possibly why the graffiti refers to her as Bella, was the fact that there was belladonna growing there in the area.
And if anyone doesn't know what belladonna is, you'll know it as like nightshade.
Right.
Like it's a plant that is very poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is also the theory that's the one that we tend to like so much, that Bella was a spy.
We love our spies.
Right.
Like, anytime we can wrap a spy into a story, we're doing it.
Well, we're not doing a 4-part deal on it. Don't worry. But this was, after all, during World War II.
Yeah.
During the war, there were actually a number of German spies that were caught in the Birmingham area that were captured and executed. Is it possible that Bella was one of these spies? Tune in next week to find out. No, I'm just kidding.
It's this week.
Kidding.
Just like our other spy stories, the Oslo woman, the Isdal woman, and the Cambo man, this one actually might have some credence to it as well. Not just the date, but there's a story. There's a story told by a witness. In 1953, the Wolverhampton Express and Star received a letter from a woman calling herself Anne of Claverley. She actually claimed that she had information that Bella was part of a spy ring. She was actually interviewed by the journalist Wilfred Byford Jones. That's a little bit of a mouthful.
Like the most English-sounding name I've ever
heard. According to Anna, Bella was actually a spy in the spy ring, and she was there to, gather information about a munitions factory. Let's learn a little bit more about Anna, the informant Anna.
Let's. So later on, they found out that Anna's name was actually Una Mossop. And
that's a name for you.
That's one heck of a name. And she actually alleged that her husband, who was an RAF pilot, his name was Jack Mossop, had actually witnessed Bella's murder. Her husband, at some point in time, had told her that he too had become a member of a spy ring and was basically partnered up with a Dutchman named Von Ralt.
I love these names.
Very, very spyish name.
Yes.
My arch nemesis, Von Ralt.
Wait, I just love that her husband told her these things.
Yeah.
I'm just like, a real spy, do you think they tell their spouses?
Yeah. By the way, I'm a spy too. Yeah.
You don't go anywhere.
No, I don't. I don't. I have no life. One evening, Von Ralt actually, accompanied by a woman who Jack later believed to be Bella, picked him up in Von Ralt's car. Picked Jack up in Von Ralt's car. So
Von Ralt and a woman
Bella
picked Jack up.
Pick up Jack. Okay. Jack said that Von Ralt then led them out into the woods, where he then strangled the woman because of her spy associations. So, I guess working for different teams here.
There's another version of this story, not one told by the wife, but one that went around. And it is actually a little bit less about espionage and a little bit more about two men being assholes.
Yeah.
This story claims that Jack and Von Ralt were actually at a bar drinking with a local woman, Bella, and she got really drunk and she passed out. The two men thought it would be funny. Let's play a trick on her. Let's prank her. So they took her out, her drunk body out, and they put her in the tree, hoping that she'd wake up and learn to hold her liquor. Stuck in the tree, she actually woke up and couldn't get out. And that she died from dehydration and exposure.
No.
Again, I told you, two men being assholes. If this story is any truth to it, that's just terrible. Though this story does paint a hell of a picture, it does not explain the taffeta that was stuffed into the skull's mouth. Like, I would hate to think that they tied something to her mouth and put her in there so she could. I don't know. That theory is just the worst possible scenario in my head.
And we don't know if either of those stories hold any water whatsoever. What we do know is that Jack was never questioned in Bella's death because, well, he had passed away before Bella was ever even discovered.
Right.
Also, they later found out that Una was actually estranged to Jack in the years that led up to his death. So she could have just been making the whole thing up.
Yeah, because your estranged husband doesn't usually tell you he's a
spy. Van Ralt was never found, if he ever existed. And, I mean, investigators just basically, they chalked it up to, an ex-wife telling stories about her estranged husband 12 years after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little weird.
Doesn't sound too cozy now.
No. There is another interesting thing that could kind of tie into her being a spy, and that's a declassified MI5 file. These files revealed information that came from a German spy, Joseph Jacobs. He was actually a German spy who was captured when he was parachuting into Cambridge and he broke his ankle. This happened in 1941, and when he was captured, he had something on him, and it's a creased photo of the German actress and cabaret singer Clara Burrell. Joseph said that he actually got Burrell into the whole Third Reich spy game and that she was his lover. So
makes me want to watch Inglourious Basterds. Jacobs also told investigators that Burrell had parachuted into the West Midlands in 1941 and then just disappeared.
Which would put it in the time frame of Bella's death.
So there's a lot of theories, though, or a lot of people, rather, that believe the theory that Burrell actually was the woman that Una Mossop had talked about.
Oh, that Van Ralt.
That she was in the car with Van Ralt, and Van Ralt had then killed her. Unfortunately, Jacobs was never really able to shed any additional light on things because he was executed by firing squad in August of 41.
Well, I mean, he was a spy.
Yeah. I mean, that they're not going to keep him. Nowadays, they would keep him around and
forever,
shove him in a hole until he dies of
forever.
Old age. But yeah, this was back in the 40s, so what are you going to do?
The question is, could Bella be Clara? Well, the evidence we found does it says no.
No.
It says no. Clara was 5 foot 10 inches tall.
Big difference.
That's Bella,
difference.
If you remember, we said she was shorter than me. She was 5 foot. So I don't see how that's not even possible. Also, Clara was a beautiful actress and cabaret singer, and not saying that Bella was unattractive, but she did have very distinctive protruding teeth.
I believe the term is busted ass teeth.
Yeah.
To put it in perspective under today's terms.
Yeah, it would be very noticeable. And the thing is Clara was known as a beauty. So I think that it would be something that she would have been known to have.
But the biggest reason that we know that Bella is not Clara, in 2016 we discovered the death certificate for Clara Burrell. It's officially on record that she died in a hospital in Berlin in December of 1942. And seeing as how there are no Berlin hospitals that are located inside a tree trunk in England, then I'm going to go ahead and guess that Clara isn't Bella.
I mean, the 10 inches didn't give that away?
You're right.
So, over the years, people have speculated that in cases like this, when you have a woman whose body is discovered and no one's claiming her, the easiest solution and stuff for people to say is she was a lady of the night. She was a prostitute or a transient. And that theory actually gains a lot of... Yeah.
This is one of those times where it actually looks like that may very well have been the case.
Yeah. Because no one has ever claimed to know who this woman is. And because of her distinctive look, you would think that people in the area would. There is the suggestion that, what about her child? You know, we said that she had at least one child. That's what the autopsy said. Well, this is also can be explained if she's a prostitute. Back in the 1940s, if you were a prostitute or even a woman who didn't have the means to take care of your child, you would give your child up. Or you might even send your child to America because it's during the war.
Right.
And that child may never have known to look for a parent. So it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a sad thing, though.
It's a very sad thing. In August of 2014, BBC Radio 4 broadcast a program that actually suggested that Bella was a prostitute who had worked the streets around Hagley Road, who, according to police, disappeared in 1941. So she kind of matches up, the timelines match up anyway. But while the timelines do kind of connect there, why did no one...
actually connect the dots?
Yeah, no one recognized the description of her that was, it was put out in the news. So, I mean, why did no one seem to recognize it when she was discovered? Why did it take more than 50 years for this missing persons case to come forward?
Because it took 50 years to get from point A here to point B right there.
2 inches away. Yeah.
Speaking of weird theories, and this one touches a little close to home for me because of my family, but there are locals who believe that Bella was part of a group of travelers. They would have been called Gypsies back then, that were in the neighborhood that camped out in the woods. They believe that she was killed by, the members of her clan for whatever reason. And yet there's another suggestion that she was a local barmaid who was killed by an American GI. I don't know. I feel like if she was local, somebody would have been like, we would have known her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like she was local at all.
No. And there is one last theory that, not quite as exciting as the others, but
it's sad.
It's a lot more heartbreaking, for sure.
Yeah, it's really sad.
So earlier on, we mentioned that there were nightly bombing raids in this area. This is, of course, during World War II. Well, this theory suggests that Bella was nothing more than someone who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time during the moment when one of these nightly bombing raids began. And here she is, out in the woods. Where are you going to go? So she sees a wych elm tree with a hollowed out trunk and that she can climb within to take shelter from the raid.
Right. And if she wasn't local, she wouldn't know they were doing it nightly, on a testing basis.
So she climbs inside and just got stuck.
That's so sad.
I mean,
it makes me want to cry.
Oh God. And I can't stomach the thought of it can take days to die of dehydration. Can you imagine crawling into that place and becoming stuck, and you're in the middle of the woods, so you're screaming for help, no one's hearing you for days until you starve to death or die of dehydration or exposure or what have you.
I mean, the only, and this is going to sound weird when I say this, but the only glimmer of that was not what happened is still the taffeta in the mouth.
Well, and even the taffeta, I can think of a couple of reasons. Why that could actually make sense. Well, I mean, for one thing, they say that if you are dehydrated and you don't have water to drink, if you put a piece of cloth in your mouth, it will create saliva, and it will also soak into the saliva. So you can literally kind of just suck on your own saliva, basically.
See, you made me sad again.
While I'm not saying she would have known that or anything, but I mean, it's a possibility that she was doing that to try to keep herself going, or maybe she tried to suffocate herself just to put herself out of the misery of it.
There's one thing that still gives me a glimmer of hope with that, is the fact that it was taffeta. All of our other clothes were of poor quality. Taffeta is an expensive fabric. True. It is a stiff fabric. It is not something that you're going to want to put in your mouth. Like I've told you before, if you ball up taffeta and throw it at somebody, it's like a baseball hitting you sometimes. It's really stiff material. So I don't know. That's just my hopefulness, because that is a terrible way to die.
A horrifying and
I think it's one of the worst ways to die I can even imagine.
Yeah. So, and there I've heard other stories that are except you would see the light and you just couldn't reach it. It's like there's a story of there was a woman that went missing for a long time, and they ended up selling her house and all of this stuff, and even years passed, and I guess the family that had purchased the house was doing renovations on the house, and they found her. She had basically gone up into the attic to get something and had collapsed through the floor and got stuck in the wall. We're talking a space that's about this big. She became stuck in the wall and had stayed there until she died. But her house was far enough away from her neighbors that no one heard her screaming.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is so sad.
And there were claw marks on the wall.
Why are you doing this to me? He's making me so sad right now.
So this episode is long enough as it is. Let's get off the tangent here.
Okay, so here's the thing. None of these theories have any evidence.
No.
None of them. They are just more dead ends, more questions, more suspicions that are raised, and there's No evidence other than what we told you at the very beginning of the story.
Right. So, that being said, we are once again left to ask the ever-lingering questions. Who was Bella?
How did she die? God, I hope it wasn't the way you said.
And how'd she end up in a tree?
Oh, was she murdered?
If so, who killed her?
Oh my gosh. And why did they kill her?
Why were her bones scattered all over the place? Was it animals?
Oh, I didn't, dragging them from the tree. Yeah.
Post-mortem?
There are way more questions
many?
in this case than I think almost any other case that we've ever dealt with.
There might be.
And the worst thing, especially somebody like me who wants answers, is that there are no answers. There's no answers. All we know is that Bella died. She was never identified. And if she was murdered, her murderer has gotten away with it for over 75 years.
And we know that her body being found in a rather sinister-looking tree in the middle of a dark wood, a place that has rumors of witchcraft and evil, has been a mystery for 75 years that has completely baffled investigators and fans of unsolved mysteries alike. It's frankly struck fear into the hearts of a lot of people. And with every single potential passing answer, 2 more questions pop up to take its place.
Right. The story of Bella is a 3/4 of a century old tale that entwines possible witchcraft, espionage, magic, and let's face it, horror. This is the tale that has become a legend. And perhaps it's just meant to stay that way.
What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, of course, feel free to follow us across all of our social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the button, and share, comment.
The YouTube things.
Yeah.
Do them all. We like that.
If you subscribe, you'll find all kinds of videos. He does a video every day of the
Every
week,
Monday
except
through Friday.
except
Yeah.
the weekends.
Yeah.
So there's
something for everybody.
Yeah. We have our show. There's all kinds of fun fact shows.
And besides, we already teased the fact that 2 weeks from today, there's going to be a really freaking weird story. So you don't want to miss that. And the best way to not miss that is
to hit subscribe.
That's right. Click the little bell, and that way you get notified. But most importantly, guys, drop us a comment.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think of this story. We want to know. Let us know what your theories are. But most importantly, let us know what you want to see next in this series of enigmatic events. Thanks for watching.
Bye.